on over there in England right now with the latest bombing in Manchester and who's behind it, how it was done, and all the down in the weeds part of it. What I look at is more of the big picture from the counterterrorism and the federal law enforcement background. Is that, look, I know that the British MI5, MI6, and SAS can solve this problem, given the freedom to do their jobs. So why are their hands tied, and why is this being allowed to happen in the first place? Why is the stage being set for radical Islamists to blow up concerts, schools, and the like? Why is it being allowed when the people and the professionals across Europe know how to handle it? Why is it not being allowed to be dealt with? And it's this whole political correctness lie that's really got everybody's hands tied. So I say, look, man, people are going to have to get fed up to the point to where they're going to demand effective action be taken by their governments. No more, as long as there is only this soft response to terror, terrorists are going to win. They're going to get what they want. They're going to bomb the living daylights out of everybody every day, all day, until nobody's left, until effective action is taken. It's got to be effective. And those techniques and tactics are known. We know what it takes to defeat terrorism. And my question is right now, why is that not happening? It's a political problem. It's a corruption problem. It's a lack of will to win. And I think until we address that, there's no point in getting down in the weeds and all the other
minutia
points of, yeah, exactly. So
well, I mean, I totally agree with you. We don't want to blame the military and the police because their hands are tied. But you look at Stockholm, Sweden, you look at Brussels, Belgium, you look at Berlin, Germany, or Cologne, you look at Paris, France, burning buildings every night, cars, people being raped, killed, just crazy town, and inability to address it or do anything. And then we learn time and time again, the security services actually know what's going on, known by police, known by MI5, known by MI6, known by the FBI. Take San Bernardino. FBI agents tried to bust them when they went to Pakistan and to Saudi Arabia. And then they were criminally investigated for civil rights violations a year and a half before they go and shoot up their company party at the Christmas tree. I mean, it's crazy. It's like beyond being paralyzed. And of course, you've been a federal officer. You've dealt with this and counterterrorism. What is the general feel then about where this is going to go? Because clearly it's getting worse. Clearly they're bringing more refugees here, most of them military-age men. What is the establishment thinking?
Well, that's the question of the rank and file. The people that actually have the skills and the background to make a difference are frustrated. They cannot have their optimal effect without backing from their politicians. So whether it be in the United States and what we just suffered in the last 8 years of being scolded every time we were bombed as to not to pay attention to who did the bombing and not dare say it, now we're watching kind of the same thing over in England, and it's heartbreaking to see the victims, needless victims. They should not have suffered this attack. It's known how to prevent this, and the will is just obviously not there to prevent it. The politicians want to play these games, and lives are at stake. National security is at stake. So it really is just going to matter. It's going to boil down to the people getting so fed up to where they're not willing to play this soft, politically correct game anymore that allows terrorists to win. They're going to have to get fed up and say, okay, now let's get back to doing what works, and let's put a stop to this so our children can go to school without being blown up.
And by the way, what would work? I mean, if you've got mosques in Libya, where our government helped it be a failed state to put the jihadis in, and you've got these mosques openly teaching kill everybody, and people are saying, let's kill people, let's guard people. Well, you've got the evidence of planning terror and planning mass murder right there. Just lock their asses up. And then you've got these mosques in the Middle East where they're openly saying it. Well, that's fine. You just openly called for this. You just got arrested, right?
It just boils down to enforcing the law in good faith, Alex. It's really that simple. All of these countries have the laws on the books. If they would only enforce them, could clean this right up.
Let me ask you this. What is it? Sure. I mean, it's not like sometimes... And I've been against many of our wars. I'm not against our troops or our country, but I'm against some of the wars. But once the war is going on, a missile goes the wrong direction, kills innocent people. We apologize. It's terrible. A lot of times paying reparations. That's good. But the Muslims, we apologize when we kill people on accident that are innocent. But then they won't apologize, just their general mosque, when they go blow up a bunch of teenage girls. Why do the Islamists tend to target women, children, it's like they never seem to go after combatants. They never seem to go after men. They're always going after women and children. I mean, is that just because they're cowards or what's, because don't they know how bad that makes them look?
Well, President Trump called it right. They are cowards. And yes, that is why. It's easier to kill the innocent and the helpless and the defenseless. So that's why nobody respects them. And that's why they will lose. I think we all need to just start telling the truth again and quit tiptoeing around and pretending to have more compassion for a hostile group that are coming against our countries than we really believe inside. It's time to just stand up and call it what it is. We don't like terrorism. We don't like the violence, and we don't condone it. We don't stand for it. We should not tolerate it any further. So it's just a matter of... Can
you imagine being a 20-something-year-old guy, and they're sure they let him in the back, and now we know he had help, a sophisticated device. It's usually Muslims in England running security. I've been there many times. It's like bizarre. They're at the airport asking you if you're planning something. You're like, give me a break. You're wearing a hijab, lady. And imagine you're around a bunch of teenage girls, and you walk in, and then you're proud to blow them up. I mean, I'm sorry, that is the most mentally ill, warped logic I've ever heard of.
Yeah. Well, it's evil. Anytime mankind intentionally does harm to the innocent and helpless, that's evil. There's no other way to describe it.
It has a hunger for it, doesn't it?
Justify it. Yeah, you're right. It's a depraved and a sick mind that does that, and we should not allow it any further. It's not a legitimate outlook. It's not. There's no way to run anything. It's just they are the least and the weakest among us, and they have resorted to that which is completely unacceptable to try to achieve their own objectives, and we must not allow it.
Of course, Trump has called them losers many times. We're going to play a clip of that in a moment. And I don't want to just sit here and bash them all day, because Islam's a threat, Orthodox Islam's a threat, but isn't it, Craig, the bigger threat, a political class in Europe and the United States that is allied with it? Because it's more than just Stockholm Syndrome and the public capitulating. Our elites have basically been bought off by the power structure. And one day after our president throws the gauntlet down and says, listen, stop killing us or we're going to wipe you out, they attack the next day.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I don't think folks like Merkel over in Germany are as foolish as they appear by just massively importing terrorists and then, acting surprised when things start blowing up. I don't think anybody's that stupid. I do believe and have seen behind the scenes that they are corrupt. They are in league with globalists that buy them off and promise them political power and favors. And we've got a segment, unfortunately, of our society that seek their own personal benefit over the best interest of their citizens. So they're traitors. They betray their own people, and they pretend that somehow mass importing terrorists can in any way, shape, or form be a good idea.
Well, sure, your father was a well-known pastor here in Texas, and I don't just say this because, I grew up Christian, and I love God, but I kind of got sick of hearing about it all day from my family. But as I got older, I learned it really is evil we're facing. And you look at Katy Perry and all her satanic rituals on TV, and then her saying, open borders, bring them in. They're allied with it because they get off on the evil. It's a perversion. They enjoy flaunting it and allying with it because spiritually they're one with it, because they are fundamentally losers. Here's President Trump.
I extend my deepest condolences to those so terribly injured in this terrorist attack, and to the many killed and the families, so many families, of the victims. We stand in absolute solidarity with the people of the United Kingdom. So many young, beautiful, innocent people living and enjoying their lives murdered by evil losers in life. I won't call them monsters because they would like that term.
That's enough of the president. I'm not just saying this. When I watch these jihadis, they just act like physically the wimpiest little creepy people, like they're trying to be evil. They're trying to be bad. And then I ask myself, if they're so pathetic, then How are we so dominated by them, Craig?
Well, like we pointed out earlier, our politicians, in a lot of cases, our elected officials are not representing us. They're not looking out for our best interest. And we have to be more assertive. Thank God we've gotten President Trump. I do believe that that the tide has changed here in the United States because of that. And I look forward to the results, the positive and effective results from that. Over in Europe, it looks like they still got a lot bigger problem. And I do hope that we sit up and take notice and watch what's going on over there and look at just how ineffective their responses are to radical Islam, and take note and follow and back our president and his determination to kick them out, get them out. If you don't want to live among us in peace, get out. Go blow up your desert where you came from. We are about peace. We are about tolerance. We are about working hard and enjoying the fruits of your labor. And if you can't get on board with that, then you have no business coming to our country. So it's a strong leader that will dare to say that nowadays in the face of political correctness and all the BS that's been pumped out of our, educational institutions and so-called mainstream news media and big Hollywood over the last decades. I think a lot of American citizens have been lulled into a stupor by just hearing this false narrative. But
I agree with you. I think the sleeper, I think you're saying the sleeping giant's starting to awaken. We're going to come right back with Craig Sawyer straight ahead. I want to talk about, right before we went on air earlier, we talked about the attacks on Trump, the attempt to overthrow him, the fifth column in the government, the deep state that's admitted, all these Obama people. Craig has a lot of law enforcement sources and intelligence sources. We'll get his expert analysis on that right after this break.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of deep state leftovers from the Obama administration and previous, who are out to undo everything he's trying to do for we the people. So they're basically parasites that are out for power within our different levels of our government, who just want to build whatever power that they've got there. They never want to give it up. So it's not like they go and serve for a while in government and then go and assimilate back into the society. They're there to stay, and they don't want to be uprooted, just like a tick on a dog. So there are those who are creating a logjam for anything positive that President Trump tries to do. So just as an example for law enforcement, a lot of my friends in the federal law enforcement are frustrated. They are good, patriotic, decent, hardworking Americans who can fix so many of these things that we're facing, but their hands are tied because several officials up and down their chain of command within the DOJ are corrupt, and they will not act in good faith, and they will help the Clintons and others, hide a lot of the facts and thwart a lot of the investigations.
So how do we stop saboteurs?
Well, how we stop them? What I would love to tell the president is he needs to grab a hold of his DOJ and the directors of the different agencies and say, look, my commander's intent to you, sir, is to purge and clean out your agency of all subversives. We're going to get back to serving the American people in good faith, and you are to carry out the charter of your agency from the beginning. And you let me know if you've got any problems, if you need more assistance. But your personal task is to get rid of those who are creating the logjam, who are against our Constitution or against our people, who we know are corrupt. Fire them, get rid of them, and if they're worse than that, prosecute them.
And look how they leak all this stuff that isn't even real. They use secrecy to leak fake stuff. Then they leak the Manchester info, and then blame Trump when they're the ones leaking.
Yeah, well, all the false accusations are just a tactic to tie up the president and his supporters in defending him. So,
and by the way, there, as you know, Democratic memos admit the intent's just tie him up.
Yeah. They just want to tie him up, just like a boxer. Well, I don't want to get to fighting tactics, but. Yeah, they're looking to tie him up and busy him. What he needs to be busy doing is supporting his DOJ, and his DOJ needs to be at warp speed arresting and perp walking these scumbags who are his worst antagonists. We the people really deserve more justice than we're seeing, and it needs to be ramped up big time. They need to start prosecuting. I
want to come back and talk about the latest on investigations into the whole pedophile networks. Huge arrest there. We've also got Debbie Wasserman Schultz threatening the police chief of D.C., saying, don't give us these laptops you got from these Islamists that had penetrated Congress, reportedly. She looks so guilty, threatening him there will be prices to pay. I mean, these people are so arrogant. We'll be right back with the next hour. I told you first, so did Eric Prince, a former Blackwater, that Weiner was sexting this 15-year-old, procuring young girls. That came out. Of course, he's now pled guilty. The point is, they call us fake news because we're real news, and they know I'll put my money, my name, my blood, my family, everything on the line. And by the way, I'm not a hero. I'm not signing up with pedophiles and devil worshippers. I mean, it's real easy to not join globalist Islam, the New World Order, George Soros. I would do anything not to be with them. Everybody's like, oh, Alex, thank you so much for what you're doing. Or Craig, thank you. Thank you, listeners, for supporting us. We're all in this together, no matter what color you are. If you love God and love justice, you're on the same side. Craig, in the 4 or 5 minutes we have left, just getting into the investigations, the pedophile roundups that I know are stopping at the court level right now. Over 5,000 arrests now total. That's 150,000 in the whole playpen thing that the FBI was finally green-lighted to cover. I mean, this is such a giant subculture. We're learning that the globalist liberal culture really is pedophilia. They're suddenly all over TV normalizing it, making jokes on Saturday Night Live. I mean, we have dug into this cult, and their answer is just get back in our face.
Yeah, it is, Alex. We're learning that the pedophilia kind of permeates all the different aspects, different groups of subversives and anti-American and globalists. They all seem to be tied into this whole, like you call it, a subculture of pedophilia and child rape. It's just horrible. But I wish I could say it's surprising, but birds of a feather, if you will, is how I see it. So. Again, I just think it really has to do with regaining control of our country. We've got a pro-American president. Again, I say, man, while we've got the football, let's move it as far upfield as we can.
And you know he's good by how they're attacking him. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Look at their desperation to shut him up. And, they're trying to throw impeachment out for every which kind of BS excuse. So, yeah, man, he's under their skin, and he's a real threat because he just apparently intends to act in good faith for we the people. So, man, shame on us if we do not all rally around him.
I was about to say, he's not perfect, but he literally is acting in good faith.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who needs to be perfect? I mean, the guy's trying to uphold the Constitution and reestablish the wealth and freedom.
Under a 360 assault.
Yeah, from all sides.
Look at how you and I, we're not victims, we're conquerors. I mean, with Christ's help, we're not whining, but the attacks we're under are insane. You imagine Trump?
Well, oh yeah. And look at those like Media Matters. We got scumbags that are doing the will of evildoers like Soros. And they're attacking you. They're attacking Sean Hannity. They're attacking any decent, patriotic American that dares to still stand up and tell the truth. And the far left media are full of scumbags who are lying to the American public and saying, Hillary Clinton's just a nice person who's maybe just misunderstood. I mean, they're just denying all of the truth that we're watching with our own two eyes. We have to stand up and rally around folks like you, Sean Hannity, the president, the truth tellers, and unite to fight back these subversives who will continue attacking until we stop them. And we must unite together and actively stop them. It's time.
Well, we're going to continue to watch things as they unfold. This is a great time in history. It's very positive. It's very negative. Best of times, worst of times. But Craig, I'm glad you're there. TechnicalInsider.com. I'm going to be launching more radio shows, more TV shows very, very soon. I'd like to offer you a slot either once a week or 5 days a week, whatever you want, as our tactical advisor here, because we got a lot of radio affiliates out there that are ready to pick up shows we're going to launch. So that's next level, my friend. So we'll be talking to you very soon, Craig.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate it.
Thank you.